Hello and welcome. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And today I'm going to talk about maybe the most serious, nasty immigration law that exists, and that is the Convention Against Torture. We call them CAT cases, Convention Against Torture cases. And so the question for today is, what is torture? And believe me, CAT cases are not fun. And speaking with people and learning about instances of torture that they've gone through is not fun, not ever. All right. And our office has handled a lot of these cases, and they can be pretty intense. But if you're handling a case like this, you want to work with somebody who's done cases like this before, who knows how to handle them well, and who knows how to present the case well. And if you don't present each of the elements, then the judge will deny the case, all right? And so you want to go in really knowing how you're going to argue that what you suffered, whatever nasty thing you suffered, or whatever thing you're afraid you're going to suffer in your home country, you got to be ready to argue that, yes, it does amount to quote unquote torture. All right. And so how do you do that? Well, the regulations define torture. All right. And specifically, it's the Code of Federal Regulations, 1208.18 specifically, of Title 8 of the Code of Federal Regulations. And so what it says is torture. I'm just going to read off the regulation. All right. And maybe I'll even share my screen so you can look at what I'm looking at. All right. Share my screen real quick. Sorry to do this. All right. I'll make my talking head bigger. This is a Word document here. All right. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. I might even blow it up a little bit so you can see it better. Heck. What happened? Paragraph. Well, forget about it. Okay, here we are. 1, torture is defined as any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person for such purposes as obtaining from him or her or a third person information or a confession, punishing him or her for an act he or she or a third person has committed or is suspected of having committed, or intimidating or coercing him or her or a third person, or for any reason based on discrimination of any kind, when such pain or suffering is inflicted by or at the instigation of or with the consent or acquiescence of a public official or other person acting in an official capacity. All right, I'm going to repeat all of that, but with some of my own stuff right down below. Okay, right here, maybe you can see this here. Where I've underlined it, I'm going to put some emphasis because that's really the definition, all right? Torture is defined as any act by which, and then you might put like a huge number 1, severe pain or suffering, all right, whether physical or mental, is, and you might put a big number 2, is intentionally inflicted on a person, and then you might put a big number 3, for such purposes as, and now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of little ones, the purposes, either to obtain information or a confession, to punish him or her for some act that they may have committed, or 3, intimidating or coercing him or her, or a third person, or 4, for any reason based on discrimination of any kind. All right? When, and now you might put a big number 4, all right, when it is by or at the instigation of or with the consent or acquiescence of a public official or some other person acting in an official capacity. All right, that's the way the regulations define torture. And I'm going to simplify it even more, as I like to do, and put things in just very simple, easy to understand visuals. All right. torture is where there is severe pain or suffering, not normal pain or suffering, but it can be physical or mental. 2, it's got to be intentionally inflicted. 3, for a specific bad purpose, whether to secure a confession or discrimination or any of those 4 purposes we just looked at. And 4, it's got to be either by a state actor, by a public official in some way, at their instigation of that state actor, or with the consent and quote unquote acquiescence of the state actor. All right? That is how torture is defined by the regulations, which means that, and just so you know, right, to win CAT, you've got to show that it's more likely than not, greater than 50% chance, that you would be tortured under this definition if returned to the country that they're planning to remove you to. And if you can show that, boom, you're not going anywhere. You can win the Convention Against Torture relief. That's even if, I'll stop sharing my screen. That's even if your asylum case was denied. That's even if your withholding of removal case was denied. If you can show those 4 things, you can still win relief under the Convention Against Torture. Torture is nasty. And if you've ever been through anything even remotely close to it, which I really hope you haven't, but if you have, it very likely has left trauma, scar, like nasty, nasty things in your mind and sometimes in your physical body. And my heart goes out to you, and we have had clients who, have been stabbed with glass, who have, I won't get into all the gruesome details, nasty cases, all right? Sexual violence, physical violence, fingers broken one at a time, lots of very nasty things, all right? If you've been through that, my heart goes out to you. And in some instances, we can use those horrible, horrible things to allow you a better future in the United States. And really, CAT cases are typically a last and kind of final straw used to avoid the deportation of a client. And so they're never fun cases. But if you've got a CAT claim, then don't be afraid to use it. And my office would be honored to help you use it if you're in that situation. All right. If you have questions about how to define torture or how you might use the evidence in your case to meet that definition of torture, please feel free to give my office a call. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.